Hello and welcome to Unleashed Live with Stacey Ann. Hello, I'm your host, Stacey Ann, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I have a very special guest with me today, Sidhu, and she is going to be talking all about Google Plus and how you can use Google Plus to grow your business. So I'm so excited to have her. So Sandy is a digital strategist and idea igniter who helps entrepreneurs break down technology into simple concepts, learn the need to know of marketing and the web, all while helping you create community, which I love, and connection with your customers. Sandy has a weekly podcast, The Business Ignite Show, where she interviews entrepreneurs who share actionable business insights. So welcome to the show, Sandy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Stacey Ann.
Awesome. So let's just jump right in with the first question. So we're all familiar with Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, but I think Google Plus is a little more of an outlier social media platform for us. So can you just share what is Google Plus and what are 3 benefits that Google Plus has over the other social networks?
Sounds good. So, well, for a lot of people, Google Plus is that other platform that either they don't want to pay attention to or there's nothing happening. It's a ghost town. It's actually not. You'd be surprised how many conversations are happening every single day on this platform. And in terms of like what Google Plus is, it's really not any different than Facebook per se. It is a social network. I liken it more to let's say an extended version of Twitter, because when everyone joined Facebook, they were mostly connecting with people they already knew. So you were adding your college friends, your family, acquaintances, whereas Twitter was this platform where it was okay to just follow anyone and start conversations with anyone. That slowly started on Facebook, where you add people who you've met at networking events or online. But I think really that's the distinction of Facebook's origin and where Twitter comes into play, where it's just kind of like a global online water cooler. But again, you're limited to 140 characters. Sometimes it can be hard to follow conversations. So Google Plus is almost like Twitter on steroids, because it's like you can, again, go and follow anyone, start conversations, and get into more in-depth conversations on the platform and build relationships that way. So to answer the second part of your question, so what are 3 things that Google Plus can do for your business? Was that it? Or okay. So it's not really different like than other platforms. I think it's just people aren't used to being on there. But because it's relatively, well, it's not that new, it's about 3 years old now, there's still a lot of changes happening, there's still a lot of innovation, but Google Plus is paying attention to what people are posting and sharing on Google Plus, and this does get picked up in search. So one thing I tell people who are kind of like, well, I don't know if I want to spend time on there. I'm like, well, I don't want to do it only for SEO reasons, but if you want to get more eyeballs on your content, it's good to follow what Google is looking at, and they make algorithm changes all the time. So when I'm logged into Gmail, for example, and then I quickly go over to Google and do a search, you end up seeing content that rises to the top that are people who you've already circled with or engaged with on Google+. That's one of the big things. If you're going to get in front of more people, you need to spend time on there engaging and building those relationships. And that also ties into authorship, which is something you can set up through Google+. So authorship, essentially, if you're searching at Google, again, you'll notice that people's images will show up right below the content. So if you want to that also helps people click through, because they're like, oh, there's a nice little smiling face. So again, that's something you can set up through Google+, which is another advantage, because there's tons of content that shows up when you do a search. So if you want to give yourself a little bit of an edge. And then lastly, I would say communities. So right now, a lot of people, if you want to look at Facebook, are complaining about, okay, I'm not getting any visibility on my post, the reach is dropping. So but on Google, you're not actually competing with any EdgeRank. Sorry, I meant Google Plus. You're not competing with any story bump. What you see is what you get. So when you look at your stream, it's everything has been posted recently. It's not like it's been optimized and it's competing with ads to get in front of you. So it's really still a lot more clean, the experience, if you want to think about it that way. You're not being bombarded. So again, if you want to get your content in front of people, I think Google Plus is still it's a great option.
Perfect. Excellent. So who is on Google Plus? What type of audience is on Google Plus? So, what kind of ideal client is on Google Plus, and how do we know if that's the right platform for us to be on for our business?
So a lot of people, well, and it's in the beginning, it's a lot of early adopters who tend to be techies, and that's true of any platform. When Twitter first started, it was going to be the techies. I mean, these are the people that are building it. They tend to spend the most time on it, and then it slowly makes its way to the mainstream. So that's still true of Google Plus, but I don't think that it's still heavily tech-based. Like if you go on there, you can find your tribe. You can find your ideal clients and where they are, because I think for a lot of people starting in a new place can be intimidating because again, you don't have that many people following you. You probably go to your news feed and there's not a lot of happening. So I tell people to go to communities, and Google Plus has a community for everything under the sun, and if you can't find it, create it. So that's where I recommend people to go. And I kind of look at it in two ways. You can join communities that are related to your industry, but again, you don't want to join all communities related to your industry because then you're just one of many. So I kind of try to dabble where, I'll join communities related to Google Plus because I want to pick up more tips, but then I'll join more general entrepreneurial communities because I want to connect with, let's say, other women entrepreneurs who may need services that I have to offer.
Yeah, perfect. That's awesome advice. Yeah, for like how to find different people. So it seems like there's a lot of different ideal clients on there, and you just have to find them, inside of these communities. So I love it. So how can we best use Google Plus to grow our business? So what should be our number one goal when we join this platform?
I would say start by engaging with other people, following other people, sharing their content, building relationships, because it's so easy to go on there and just be like, oh, look, I posted my latest blog post and leave. But when you don't really have that many people following you, chances are you're not going to get very many people plus wanting your content or engaging on it. So of course, you're going to feel like it's a ghost town because you are still the ghost town. So you kind of got to go where the conversations are happening. So I would say definitely start by that, checking out some communities, checking out what thought leaders in your industry are doing and how they're using the platform, and start joining in on those conversations. I would also add to that Hangouts on air. So there are tons of like Hangout shows that people are hosting nowadays, whether they're panels or whether they're interviews. So even though you may not be able to attend live, you can still catch the replay after and still engage on the comment thread. So if you see something that caught your eye, you can comment, circle the person back. So I would really focus on going where the conversations are happening and join in, and at the same time slowly start building your own profile and your presence. So when people come back and click through your profile, they see, oh, okay, this person does online marketing, or they help, grow your list. Like, I want to know more about them.
Yeah, awesome. And you're watching one of the Google Hangout shows right now. This is a live Google Hangout show that airs every single Thursday at 2:30 Eastern Time. So I've actually taken Sandy's advice and I've set up a Google show that, I've gotten new people, because what's really great and that I've found is when you keyword your Google Hangout shows and use the right keywords, you do start to attract a different audience outside of your normal range of people that you have on Facebook and Twitter. And so it's like this ultimate hub of where you can bring everyone together on, a Google Hangout show. So I love that you recommended that, because I've taken it and I've run with it, and I love my Google Hangout show. It's so fun, and it's something live that you can do and really interact with your audience, because you can have people ask questions and stuff. So I love that I love that advice. So, how you talked about adding people and following people. So, how do I find people to follow on Google Plus? Like, is there a certain way that I should be, finding people? Should I be following my ideal client, or should I be following industry leaders, things like that? And how in the world do I find them to follow them in the first place?
So when you first join, there are recommendations that you'll get based on like there's sort of Google top lists that they've already kind of curated, so you can start following people in certain categories, like whether it's technology. But then after that, I kind of look at industry leaders, and then I start looking at people's profiles based on my ideal client. So if I see, okay, they filled out that they're an entrepreneur or a small business owner, so you kind of have to do a little bit of digging and seeing, okay, who are you looking for? So creating a mix. So I will create a circle, for example, if I see, like right now, I have a community that I've started called Ignite Online, which ties to my brand, and people they can join the community when they opt in to my mailing list. So if I see someone on Google Plus that I know that they're on my mailing list, I'll circle them, and I have a list a circle called email marketing list. So these people I know I've engaged with in the past. But then other people who I don't know yet, I'll create other circles based on what I see that they've filled out in their profile. So I think you have to do a little bit of investigation, but people will also create shared circles where they'll say, okay, these are like the top bloggers or the top Pinterest people on Google Plus, just a mouthful. But then you can start adding those people to your circle. So I think you have to kind of do a little bit of digging, following conversations. I don't necessarily recommend following people just en masse, because then you're just going to have a lot of people to manage. I think it's something you have to curate over time. You can circle people and uncircle them as you go.
Awesome. And what about hashtags? So we know that on Facebook, hashtags are, that strategy doesn't really work that great. But on Twitter, the ultimate strategy is hashtags. So I know Google Plus does offer hashtags. So is it something worth pursuing? Should we be adding lots of hashtags or just a couple? Or, talk a little bit about hashtags and Google Plus, how we can use them to build our business.
Absolutely. And like you said, Twitter, it's all about the hashtags. Facebook was more about the hashtag when it wasn't. It was the ironic hashtag, I would say. It was better when it didn't work almost. And Google Plus, I would say it's like Twitter. You would add hashtags to your content. And the interesting thing about Google Plus is that it actually makes suggestions. Like when you start typing the hashtag, it'll try to auto-complete it to see if and you can see if that's what you actually want to use. So I would definitely add 2 to 3 hashtags to your content. Again, like you mentioned, it's really searchable. A lot of people will do it for their hangout shows because other people are looking specifically for that. I don't know that there's actually some ultimate directory, because I know that actually comes up a lot. People are like, oh, what hashtags do I use? Again, people will do a mix of specific keywords, and then maybe they'll make up one that kind of fits their brand. I know people will do that for their shows. Like you might create something that's unleashed live, so if someone clicks through it, they may be able to see past ones. It's not as extreme as Instagram, I would say, where Instagram is like hashtag on drugs. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about scheduling posts, because we're all busy entrepreneurs and we're all trying to figure out, ways to save 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there. So first, can you schedule posts for Google Plus? And should you schedule posts for Google Plus? And if so, should you only schedule, or should you do some live and some scheduled? Give us the answer on scheduling.
So that's a question that comes up all the time that I get so often. It's like, okay, you convinced me to use Google Plus. Now, can I buffer my Google Plus posts, or can I put them through Hootsuite? And to your personal profile, you can't actually use any of those tools to automate and schedule, which many people might think is actually unfortunate, but I actually see it as a positive, because I know when I see someone post on Google Plus on their personal profile that means they're actually there and they're engaging, and it keeps the stream actually pretty clutter-free, because you can't bombard it the way we're doing on, let's say, Twitter or Facebook. That being said, however, you can schedule posts to your business page. So that will work with something like Hootsuite. You can add your page there and schedule. Whether you should do it or not, I think if in that case, because if you can, balance it and you do want to schedule out posts, I you could do it on your business page. Now, whether or not you should have both a business page and a personal page, that comes up in discussion as well. So it's up to you to decide how many things you can manage and how effectively you can engage with both those profile pages.
Actually, that's going to be my follow-up question is I wasn't aware that you could do a business and a personal page. So which should you have for Google Plus? Should you create a business page or should you have just a personal page and or does it matter based on your own business type?
I would say personally, I have a business page and a personal profile, but the reason why I set up the business page was more because I was showing people how to do it in my course. I don't actively use that. I believe, and I think this applies to most of the platforms, people engage with people, so it's a lot easier to build relationships as yourself and then say, oh, I'm Stacey Ann, check out Unleashed Live or go check out my page versus trying to be in communities behind a logo because most people will have sort of that separation between themselves if they're like a small business and then they have their personal profile. Personally, I think if you're just starting out and you're watching this and you're like, yeah, I want to be active on Google Plus, I think you can get a lot further as your personal profile, build relationships, and then link to your business page if you want to, or just send people directly to your website because managing multiple presences, as we all know, is not easy. And you don't lose out by having a page versus a profile. You still get the SEO benefits. You can do the authorship through your personal profile. You can run Hangouts like we're doing right now through your personal profile. So you can link that to your YouTube. I think it's just a preference whether or not, if you're the face of your brand, if you can get away with just doing it as your personal profile, I would start with that.
Awesome. And then, so let's talk about posts and what kind of content we should be sharing inside of Google Plus. So is there a certain kind of content that people like more, maybe more links, or do they like silly meme pictures? I don't know. What kind of content is really good to share on Google Plus to help us, grow our business?
So Google Plus is a good example. I don't know if you or a lot of your audience has read Gary Vee's latest Jab, 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 Right Hook, where he talks about native content, so creating content that's native to the platform, so not necessarily posting the same cat picture on Facebook and Twitter and then Instagram, but really looking at like what works well on that particular platform. And Google Plus is one of those platforms where a lot of people have almost gone to the point where it's like a blogging platform. So they're posting a big chunk of their blog post or almost the entirety of it to get people to engage with the content right there. And those types of posts where you see that people have taken the time to kind of either excerpt or write what their blog post is gets more engagement than the posts where it's just here's a link and leave. So what I'm getting at is that getting people want to stay on the platform and read and consume and share and comment there versus like, here's a one-line headline of my blog post, what I like to call link dropping, and getting people to go read it on your website. So those types of posts, again, visuals work really well. Generally, social media is moving in the trend. I just read today that Twitter is revamping their whole look and feel to add bigger pictures. So visuals work really well on Google Plus as well, and I think they just made a change a few weeks ago where when you do share when you share a post for maybe your website, it actually pulls out a larger thumbnail, whereas before it was a little bit smaller, so you don't necessarily have to upload it separately to get the full effect. So try creating native content, not overly like just link focused, but images and nice looking images especially work well.
Awesome. And how can we translate this into list building, using Google Plus to build our list? What have you found to be like the number one strategy for getting people off of Google Plus? Because you said they like to linger, but I'm sure you can't actually sell on the platform just like any social media. So how do you actually get people off of Google Plus and onto your list?
Well, I've actually seen some people do some interesting things around that. Because Google Plus does, when you create a post, I'm sure you've seen when you're about to share it with your circles, it gives you that option to send email to list, which I don't recommend people clicking on because, again, that goes directly into their inbox. And you're probably thinking, oh, what's so wrong about that? Well, people haven't opted in to receive that content from you per se, right? Because you just because they circled you or you circled them doesn't mean like I want to start receiving your posts in my inbox. So I'm not sure why exactly they have that. But what I've seen people do around that is they'll create a circle where they'll say, let me know if you want to be added to this circle where I'll then notify you of any of my new blog content. So it lets you build a further relationship with that person. And again, you can then tell them like if you want to never miss anything, get on my email marketing list. I think it also depends on the content that you share. So I could share blog posts where I'm just talking about something specific, or I could share a link to my webinar and have a call to action and say, hey, you have to sign up here. So I don't think that's too different from other platforms. I think you have to be just targeted about what you're sharing and how, like what action you want people to say. Is it comment? Is it share? Is it sign up?
Perfect. Awesome. And it's so interesting how all the different platforms are just a little bit different enough that, it feels like we have to relearn the wheel every time we hop on a new platform. And so I have one final kind of question. Can you talk to us a little bit about some advanced Google Plus strategies? So for the people watching who are like, the basics, they've got it and they're ready to just dive in and just start exploding their list or growing their business on Google Plus, what's one strategy that you've personally found that is just really taking your business to the next level?
Well, I would definitely say that the thing that I've been doing a lot more of, and anybody can do this in a similar fashion to what we're doing, is I started running my webinars using Google Hangouts, and that has been a big list builder for me as well as a game changer because I no longer have to spend money every month to go to webinar or meeting burner, and that software is like clunky and it's a little older, whereas with Hangouts like these, it gets streamed to my YouTube channel right after, and I can do them every week. So about a month ago, I decided to run a series of 3, and I was able to grow my list by 35%. So again, it's slightly more advanced. You have to be comfortable with the Google Hangouts on air technology. But again, you can run practice versions, and it doesn't have to be on your public stream. Like nobody needs to know that I did it 10 times before I went live. So I think that's my big thing. Like if you wanted it, because webinars, as you know, because I know you do a lot of like telesummits and JVs, are such an excellent way to build your list. And now that this platform gives us this way to do it for free, I think that's something that we're going to see a lot more of in 2014.
Yeah, no, I think that's so great. And running, and people are so afraid to run, and maybe you can speak on this a little bit. People are so afraid to run a webinar with Google Hangouts because they're afraid that people are going to see it and they haven't opted into their list. And my view is, if somebody wants to look at my stuff and hear my sales pitch, I don't care if they've given me their email address or not. If they're, if they're getting that direct relationship with me, they're gonna enjoy the content and then find me afterward. If they've really enjoyed what they've seen. So I think it's this idea of you don't necessarily have to stress over the fact that people are going to see your content and not opt in. That could be a good thing because then people are like, whoa, this person's just giving away the farm. What's going to happen once I do opt in or once I do give them money? So I think that's such a good point about Google Hangouts. I love them. I use them for all my webinars too. I have for almost almost a year now, actually. I think since they've really started coming out with Google Hangouts, and I love them. So I love that. And
I was just going to say to add. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just asking if you wanted to add anything.
Oh, sure. I was just going to say, and if that is a concern, you don't necessarily have, like I was saying, you can run it such that it doesn't show up on your stream and they'll only get the link once they've opted into your email list. That's actually how I have mine set up. And I do have a guide available on my site if someone wants to be walked through the exact step-by-step process. And the beauty of the Hangouts, like right now we're sharing like our cameras, but you can do this just with screen sharing if you're not comfortable getting in front of the camera. So that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I love. There's so much you can do with Google Hangouts. So be sure to visit Sandy's website at sandysidhumedia.com, but also she's created a checklist where if you're ready to jump in and get started on Google Plus and you're like, all right, I'm ready to do this, but I'm not quite sure what to do, she's created a checklist called Let's Plus. It's a PDF that walks you through how to set up your Google Plus account and a checklist to make sure your profile is complete. So go to sandysidhumedia.com/checklist. So you can see that she's got the website there, and then just add /checklist. So that's SANDYSIDHU media.com/checklist, and you can download that that checklist. And why? So you might be thinking, why in the world would I need a checklist to get set up on Google Plus? It can't be that hard. So I actually just went and revisited my Google Plus profile, and I was like, holy cow, I've left out so much stuff here, and I've left out opportunities for keywords and linking and stuff. So this checklist can really walk you through exactly what you need to do to set it up, because it's all the platforms are different. Twitter's pretty easy. It's just like 140 characters for your bio, and then you're done, right? Facebook, is a little more in depth, and Google Plus has its own kind of kinks and things too. So be sure to download that checklist. So Sandy, before I let you go, I'm going to throw you on this spot here, and can you just share with everyone real quick what sets you apart in your field, and if somebody is looking for geeky, techie kind of help, why should they choose you over somebody else?
Well, I would say that you definitely put me on the spot, but I really, I listen to what people are saying, and I don't just try to force solutions at you. So I work with you where you are, and get you to where you want to go. So if you're just like dipping your toe in Google Plus, I'm not going to tell you to do a Hangout webinar tomorrow. I'm going to help you take those baby steps and, support you along the way and get you comfortable with technology so you're rocking it.
Awesome, love it. And if you've been watching these Unleash Lives for a while, you know that I ask a lot of my guests that exact same question. You might be wondering why I'm asking people what sets them apart. And it's because one time I was in an interview for a client who was trying to hire me, and she asked me that question, and I froze. I was like, oh, I don't know what sets me apart. So it's to really get you thinking about what sets your business apart, and you can hear other people's answers, and you can really start to engage your own conversation of what makes you special and what makes you unique. So thank you, Sandy, for sharing that. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me today for Unleashed Live with Stacey Ann. I just love doing these Hangouts and helping you grow your business. So be sure to download your free list building workbook at training.stacyann.com/workbook, and it walks you step by step through how to grow your list in just 90 days. But before you do that, be sure to go to Sandy's checklist and download that so you can get started rocking out your Google Plus profile. And before we go, I just want to share one quick thing. So we talk a lot about all these different platforms and ways to grow our business and our list, but don't allow yourself to get overwhelmed by all that's out there. So when it comes to marketing, pick one or two platforms that you're really comfortable with and grow your tribe there. And if you want some help doing this, I've actually created an Unleash Live episode. It was the very first episode of Unleash Live that walks you through this simplified marketing plan so you can really make all of this easier and less overwhelming. So I just want to thank you so much for joining me today with Unleash Live. And Sandy, I want to thank you for being our guest. So do you have any last words before we sign off?
Well, I can't wait for the show to go live, and if people are listening and they are on Google Plus, I'd love to have them circle me. I'm just over at plus.google.com/plus Sandy Sidhu. So my name, you'll find me there. I'd love to connect and chat with you.
Awesome. You can find me on Google Plus too. I'm what she said, but I'm plus Stacey Ann. So whatever it is, it's like plus.google.com/plus Stacey Ann. I think that's right. They just now got vanity links, right? It's just within the last couple of months that you've been able to actually brand it. Before it was like some big long string of numbers and letters, and it was like, I'll just send you the link. So that's a good thing that they've added that. So thank you everybody so much for watching, and I'm excited to see you next time. And we'll be back same time, same place next week, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, every single Thursday for Unleash Live with Stacey Ann. Thank you so much, and have a great afternoon.